and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
This is Mark Florence.
And this is Campbell Florence.
And today we're talking about It Follows. Fun fact, Meg and I watched this movie in the theater together many years ago. What year did it come out, Mark?
Just tell me what it was like to see a movie in a theater. I can't remember.
Aw, pandemic speak. It's so sad. And guess what? This movie was in our local independent movie theater, which was even more brilliant. And I told you both last night when we were rewatching this, the first thing I said on Facebook and Twitter after I saw this movie was, the soundtrack is amazing and it reminded me of John Carpenter. So Mark, what year did it come out?
I'm getting conflicting reports. I believe 2015, but then it also says 2014. So I think it's 15 though.
Probably 15 with the theater. Campbell, what are you reading?
I have it here on Wikipedia. It says it came out in 2015 in the U.S. and 2014 in... I don't know what that is. Let's see. Oh, the Cannes Film Festival?
Cannes.
Oh, Cannes.
Yeah. Came out in 2014 in the Cannes Film Festival. And 2015 it came out in the U.S.
Mark, what was the budget and what was the box office?
This is a pretty impressive percentage on profit because it cost $2 million and they made $23.3 million. So that's like over 10 times what you spent.
Amazing. So I obviously love this movie and I think it has a lot of depth, a lot of nuance, a lot of metaphors, but I want to hear your thoughts, friends. And so my husband and my 13-year-old son watched this with me. This was only my second rewatch, but both of you had never seen this before. So what do you think?
So I got to throw a question at you first. When did Stranger Things come out? We're going to look this up. Because I thought it reminded me of Stranger Things a lot. And I'm like, oh, they ripped off Stranger Things because they had a lot of like the synth music in the soundtrack, and they had like a lot of the like 80s nostalgia type feel, even though it seemed like more of a modern look to it. I don't know. There's like 80s cars and 80s fashion maybe, and like, I don't know, just a lot of 80s types of stuff.
Stranger Things came out in 2016, year after.
Whoa! So, yeah, Mark.
So Stranger Things ripped off It Follows for all their vibe and nostalgia stuff. Because literally, this movie is very, very similar to all that stuff.
Interesting. So, we find out that, well, first of all, apparently there's an above-ground pool scene that happens very early on. And Mark, you have a personal story about that.
Well, my friend Sean Gallivan had an above-ground pool, and we spent many a day in the summer, like in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, just maybe 5th grade, just swimming in there. And we used to put his trampoline right next to the pool and then jump off the trampoline into the pool, and it was just the best time ever.
And my best friend in junior high and high school, we used to go babysit a girl that she would babysit who had an above ground pool. And it's like, yeah, of course we'll babysit like for the 5th time this week because we could go swimming. Above ground pools were the jam in northern Minnesota and apparently southern Minnesota.
Yeah, in Minnesota, it doesn't make much sense to have like an in-ground pool. I think above ground pools are far more practical. So, but I don't even know if they're that big of a thing anymore. Do you?
I don't know anyone with an above ground pool anymore.
Yeah, but we live in Duluth, Minnesota, where you get like 8 days a year where it's like over 80 degrees.
That's true. So, yes. I noticed that in one of the scenes is it the main character's house? They had the same wallpaper as my parents did upstairs in their bedroom.
I even after I've seen it, or I did not notice that. That's pretty cool, though. So should we actually get into what this movie's about?
No more nostalgia. Here we go. We're plot focused.
So this is basically about I don't even know what to call it. Like almost a curse that falls upon a person when they sleep with somebody. And that will involve some randos just like walking slowly after you, trying to kill you and actually make sweet love to you to kill you. And the only way to get rid of this curse is to have relations with another person. And then that bestows that person. But if that person ends up dying, unfortunately, it reverts back to the person who gave it to that person. So
long story short, we thought maybe this is a metaphor for STDs, but also then we were thinking maybe it's a metaphor for rape or non-consensual sex. And Campbell, what did you think it might be a metaphor for?
I don't know. I was going like the same route you were thinking, but then just before I was thinking about that how it might be STDs still. It might be both because at the beginning of the movie, the guy that gave it to the main character can still see it. So I guess it could be a metaphor for STDs. Like they can, like saying like they still have it, but it's just not after them, which doesn't make that much sense, but kinda.
Needless to say, it's a great premise because it's leaving us guessing and we don't actually know. And so the main character sleeps with this guy who she's like, "Aw, I love him so much and this is great." But actually he drugs her and now she's strapped into a wheelchair.
So I thought the writer did a really creative thing on how to reveal to like the audience about exactly what was happening here, where he had to like strap her to the chair and like explain what was happening and like why he's doing this, because he seemed like a nice enough guy, the kind of guy who does that. But yeah, he explained like, these people are gonna come after you. They walk really slow, like really slow.
They don't run, yeah. They don't run. It's not like fast running zombies in like World War Z. It's like slow movers in Night of the Living Dead.
And then another thing I don't think we've said yet is that only people who have had the curse or currently have the curse can see these people. So like people who don't have it can't see them. So that's another level of like, hey, that person over there, do you see them? That's how it kind of got revealed in the movie theater. But yeah, I thought it was a really creative way to explain it without being super obvious. And then he literally like drove her home and just like pushed her out of the car.
Yeah, it didn't look good because she was pretty much in her bra and underwear when he pushed her out of the car, so it did not look like good things happened earlier that night.
There's like a lot of cool like camera shots in this. So like in that scene where he revealed what was happening, she was strapped to that wheelchair, and I think they put a camera on like the end, like her feet in the wheelchair, pointing back at her. So it was like a cool like point of view shot of that. And then she, even after it's all explained to her, she's in class the next day. And she's just sitting there. And this is what people have said reminds them a lot of the Halloween movies. She's kind of sitting in class, glancing out the window, and then she spots this older lady kind of seems out of place at, I think is it a high school or a college? I don't know. But I think it's a college. But kind of this old lady just walking slowly at her, and it's a pretty cool scene. When she sees this old lady coming towards the building, she abruptly leaves the class where the teacher's talking, like reading this real like poetry or whatever, and she just like storms out of the class, and the teacher's like, "Excuse me, where are you going?" And Kelly has some comments about that.
Here's the thing. I would never in a million lifetimes as a college professor question a student getting up and leaving a class because things happen. Like you get a call from your child's teacher that they are sick or you have diarrhea or I need to leave because I've been triggered or whatever. Like there is no reason to ever actually call out a student. I know this happened in high school, friends, but it should not happen in college. If your college professor is calling you out for getting up and leaving during a lecture or a lab, that's not okay.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't elementary school where you need to be like, hey, I need to see your pass, your hall pass. Like, let them go. I thought it was cool after how the lady was walking at her and there was two girls kind of talking in the hallway, but they couldn't see her, the older lady. And then she's like, hello, hello. And they look at her. They're like, hey, what's up? I thought that was kind of funny. So I have an interesting question here. So there's this thing where it's like, okay, I got to pass this curse onto you if I sleep with you, but you're going to have this curse. And I'm assuming most college-age guys would be like, yeah, that's cool, that's cool. So what do you think?
I mean, I don't know, Mark, because I didn't know a lot of college-age guys except you, and I think you would have been totally down. You'd be like, sure, I'll die.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. It just seemed like every guy wanted to like take this burden on. Like, yeah, I'm willing to do it. Just give me the chance. Give me the chance.
Campbell, would you be willing to die for this?
I don't think so.
And then it's like, I don't know if it worked the first time. We better do it again.
Oh, Lord.
Another question is, who are these people this thing possesses? But it did possess... I'm sorry about, I don't know the names, but it possessed like the jock guy once, right? When he broke into his own house. So who does it possess? And what happens to those people? Or does it just take on different forms all the time? Sometimes in these movies, they don't really explain everything behind the science of it all.
And I think that's okay when it's not explained because that leaves it up to our own imagination. And so, are they empty shells afterwards? Or are they like, whoa, like, I don't know what happened the past 23 hours. Like, I blacked out. And either way, that is grotesque and scary. That is true horror. Either way.
Yeah.
I remember, one time when they fled her house, when they were leaving, there was like a naked guy like on their roof. I thought that was kind of funny.
So one of my favorite posts that I've ever reblogged on Tumblr was a woman, and it's super creepy, a woman in her house dress standing on her roof at dawn. And someone captured a picture of her, and it's like, why are you doing this, woman? And it's not great, Bob. Like she's not standing on the deck. She's not standing on her credenza. She's standing on the roof, and it's just her silhouette in the sun rise, and that's what it reminds me of. And so we set up our Christmas village the other day as we're recording this, and our 7-year-old put all of our actual human figures on top of roofs, and I'm like, this reminds me of It Follows. And Campbell's like, why? And I'm like, guess what? We're going to watch it. So I'm sorry to burden you with this, Campbell.
So another cool visual on that same note was like a lady broke into their house and she ran upstairs into her bedroom, and then like 2 minutes later her friend came and they opened the door, and there was this guy who was like 8 feet tall who had taken over the thing, who was like in there, and she had to like jump out the window.
Ugh, yucky. Like, and that's the thing. Not that super tall people are gross, because we respect you.
But when they're possessed, walking slowly at you, they're pretty scary.
No, that it is scary. So there you go.
Did you ever see the movie? God, with Chevy Chase and Goldie Hawn in San Francisco. What was that? With the albino guy?
No, what?
We'll have to watch that. Oh. It's actually really good.
All right, I'm going to look it up.
I wrote down where was this filmed during the movie, but I actually figured it out because there was so many abandoned houses everywhere and like everything was abandoned. I was thinking it was in Detroit, Michigan. And then they finally dropped the bomb near the end that they're not allowed to go like south of 8 Mile. So we all knew it was the Eminem from the Eminem movie, 8 Mile. Campbell, have you ever seen this movie?
Which one?
8 Mile with Eminem.
No.
But he has heard the iconic anthem from that film multiple times over the past month because of voting reasons. Oh no, why did that?
Lose yourself in the music the moment you want it. You better never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime.
Why won't it let me record?
You're welcome. So another thing along the lines of what year is it is that they're still looking at pornographic magazines.
So old school.
Come on, get with it.
The movie that you were referencing, is it this one?
Yep, Foul Play. We have to watch that.
It's only 74% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's really good, trust me. I watched it when I was a kid.
Okay, so we both, Mark, this was like another callback to the last episode we recorded where we're like, do you feel like this? We were both like, hey, does Hugh/Jeff, why, I don't know what that means, look like Pacey from Dawson's Creek? And we were like, yeah.
Because remember, Hugh is his fake name. His actual name is Jeff because Hugh has the curse or whatever, disease, whatever you want to call it. He passes it on to Kelly? No, that's not. He passes it on to his girlfriend, and then his actual name is Jeff, and they find him, and he kind of explains it. And there's actually a funny scene when they're all sitting around talking about it. This girl walks by in like a soccer uniform, and they're like, hey, do you see that girl right there? And like, yeah, we see her. That was funny, I thought.
No, that's good. Also, Campbell, you discovered something that we did not realize. I've only seen this twice. Mark's only seen it once. Aunt Beth, as we talked to her tonight, she said she's seen it like 6 times and she didn't notice it. What did you notice about all of the It Follows people?
They were all wearing white.
And we did not notice that, but like a rewatch it, friends, and is that happening? So Mark wondered, is there only one of these in the world or are there many? And that's super disgusting to think about. Like these demons, succubi, succubus, like what? Who? Incubus? Like what?
Yeah. And that's along the lines too of because they never really explain it. So is it like, is this an isolated incident or is this like this like epidemic thing that's like happening everywhere? We will never know the answer to these questions.
And the other thing you asked me last night when we were watching this is, would I, if I knew that this was actually happening, would I sleep with someone to pass it on or not? Would I choose someone I know or a stranger? Would I actually like strap them into a wheelchair and explain it or not? Okay, so here's the thing. I think, although it's very, very, very extremely problematic, it's better to explain it to the person so they know what to expect. But you should probably do it ahead of time in order to get their consent. And they're like, cool, I'll take on this burden. Like you said, maybe some men would be on board. And if I was a woman, which I am, I would say, you know what? I'm going to think about that. Or guess what? I'll pass.
I mean, there's so many questions with this. Because, like, if you pass this on to somebody else, you kind of lose control of it. Like, if you have it for yourself, you can, like, because we have saying, yeah, if you're in, Florida, you just drive to California, and then you'll have at least I don't know how long it takes to walk that far. Campbell, look that up. Walk from Miami, Florida to San Francisco. So you'd have like tons of time to on your side. But then also you couldn't sleep with anybody, so that would be terrible. Just kidding. So I bet you a lot of people watch this are like, yeah, if you just like flew to Hong Kong or something, you'd be fine. But
So that's the thing. Like, her love interest at the end, they sleep together, but then he ends up passing it on to a woman of the night, which is a sex worker, which is fine. But
wait.
What?
He doesn't. Remember, he drives past, but he doesn't do it. He does not do it.
Oh, Lord, Mark. Oh, Lord.
He goes really slow, and he's like, yeah, it's not worth it.
Okay, so he's willing to die then? And let it revert back to his girlfriend?
Well, I think he had second thoughts about, like, killing that person just for his own sake. And even if that thing or whatever killed that person, they'd be right back on him. So,
Well, I know. That's the thing.
I know. There's a lot of questions with the understanding of exactly how this works.
Also, Campbell, tell us how long it would take to walk that far.
43 days.
Wow, that's not. I thought it would take longer. You did? So, like once a month, you could fly from like New York to L.A. and just keep doing it, and the thing would be in like Missouri the whole time.
Where would you get this money? See, this is your privileged understanding of this problem. So that's the problem.
You could start a GoFundMe, be like, yeah, this thing is chasing me, and I need to fly once a month from New York to L.A. You need apartments in both cities, probably. It could get expensive.
Okay, so Campbell and I have been viewing some GoFundMes recently because we're watching old reality TV shows, and GoFundMes do not happen as often as you wish, and it's kind of sad endings. Sorry. Spoiler alert, we're not going to say who or what shows, but wow.
And then if a woman and a woman got together or a man and a man got together, would this thing still pass on, or is this just like whatever?
You're so binary. Obviously it would, Mark, because
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm asking the question. I don't know the answer.
All right, we need to rank this movie on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being you hated it and 10 being it's a perfect movie. But Mark has something else to say before we choose our scale.
I just want to talk about the pool scene near the end of the movie. They're in that big, like, abandoned, like, Olympic-sized pool. And they bring all their, like, microwaves, toasters, radios, and stuff. And their idea is they'll put the person who the thing's after in the pool. And it'll go in there, and then they'll throw all the things in there and electrocute it. But the thing, like, outsmarts it. And then it just starts chucking microwaves and TVs and typewriters at the person. So I thought that was an awesome scene.
All right. So what's our scale, friends?
Above ground pools?
Yeah, I was going to say above ground pools because that allegedly or evidently left the most imprint on your memory. How many above ground pools do you give It Follows, Campbell?
I'm going to give it 8. It was a good movie. It wasn't perfect. It had a couple flaws, but all in all, it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it.
I'm going to go ahead and give this... I'm also going to give it 8. But, like, maybe, like, one, like, in-ground pool. So, like, an 8.5. Kelly's rolling her eyes. Nah, I like the idea. I thought this was, like, original. I like the whole vibe of the movie with, like, the retro stuff and, like, the synth soundtrack, like the old 80s feel, a lot of nostalgia. I don't know. It was kind of creepy in, like, a uncomfortable way because the thing moves so slow and, like, nobody else could see it. Like that scene when they're on the beach when, like, you can see it coming, but like nobody sees it, and she has her back to it, and it like grabs her hair. That was pretty crazy. And then when that little they got into that little like garage thing, and that like little kid like crawled through that little hole. I thought that was cool. But no, I really thought it was enjoyable, and I recommend it.
I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I remember loving and being blown away by this movie the first time I saw it. As I said, the first thing I tweeted and posted on Facebook was about the soundtrack, but obviously, you know, there's so much more to love, and we are going to write about it in one of our next books. So, Meg, what have you been reading lately?
Hi, Rewinders. I'm here to talk about the latest horror book that I read, and it is called Clown in a Cornfield, and how could I resist? It is, I mean, the cover alone has this great red tinge to it and shows like a clown in a sort of shaped out of corn, sort of like in a corn maze. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm sold. But I kept hearing so many great things. And again, you know, I try to stay up to date with what's going on in horror. And this was definitely coming with a lot of buzz. So I picked up a copy of Adam Cesar's book, Clown in a Cornfield, and it comes from, I believe, the HarperCollins young adult fiction. So I read it kind of hoping in the back of my mind that possibly my 9-year-old could read it because he loves reading horror, but I decided that he's not quite ready yet. There's a few too many swear words and sexual situations and all that kind of stuff, but that's okay. I think somebody like even just a couple years older, 12, 13, would really enjoy this book. I know I did, and how old am I? I'm 36. So I really enjoyed it. It was definitely a slasher. And that's not something that normally you would sort of think about in a book, but it has all the elements there. There are definitely twists and turns, though. It's not like just your average, guy dressed up goes around killing people. It definitely has a lot of twists and turns, but it does have some really good gory scenes that I loved. The characters are all in high school, like a classic slasher. There's a new girl in town who is the story centers on, and she's very likable. You know, we go into her past, and we know that her mom, died of an overdose, and her dad's a doctor, and he's really well-meaning, but he's also like a really, typical embarrassing dad. And so there's all those elements that we're just waiting for the bloodshed. And sure enough, she's a great final girl, and she's very clever. And these clowns, and I guess that was a spoiler, are really effing everything up in this tiny little town in Missouri, but which is funny because there's actually a lot of allegory for Republican versus Democrat as well, because she's kind of coming from a blue area to a red area, and there's actually quite a few little cheeky comments about that. It certainly doesn't saturate the book, but it made for even more enjoyment for me. So what else? Well, if I had to ding this book, I would say that one problem I had with it is it took a little while to start. And what I mean by that is, for a book called Clown in a Cornfield, like, I was ready. When I started reading it, I'm like ready for the blood. I'm ready for the excitement, the horror. And I would say it was about 100 pages before we really started to get into the action. So that was one little thing that I would definitely let you know when you read it, because I think everything is about expectation. So now that you know that, you can go in and enjoy it and enjoy the setup of the story, because once it gets started, it definitely doesn't stop. And like a slasher, everything really happens over a short period of time, and people are getting murdered and killed in all these various exciting ways very quickly. So that once it got started, it definitely didn't stop, and so that was good. But I think you'll really enjoy this. I wanted to talk about this book in particular on Horror Rewind because I feel like this is a good book if you're really big into horror movies, as I know you are. this is like a good gateway drug into reading horror. And I definitely think if you have somebody younger in your life, like maybe early teens or up through college, and you kind of think maybe they got the horror bug, but they haven't really sort of got over into the reading aspect of it yet, this would be perfect. And again, for anybody, any age, this is a great way to sort of bridge that gap, because I really feel like it has a cinematic feel to it. And it feels like you're reading a horror movie, and what better way to sort of get into the horror genre that way. So I really want you to try this book out. The author seems like a great guy, and you can find it anywhere and everywhere. I saw it at Target recently, so it's certainly available. So check out Clown in a Cornfield.
Until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.
Bye.
See you in the horror section. Goodbye.